What are you starting to dislike as you get older? Story 1. Planned obsolescence. Things used to be made to last. It was not only a selling point, but a point of pride. When something is designed to fail after 3 years, you're not really buying it. You're just renting it under the illusion that it's a purchase. Answer. We have some potato peeler from early times to thank for that. I actually studied this in my materials course in engineering school. Some company had invented such a great and sturdy product that it lasted generations. No one needed to buy a potato peeler anymore because they were getting passed down from family members and they basically were going out of business. Companies caught on and realized they needed to require shorter lifespans on products. Otherwise, no one will shop by more. It's gotten worse over the years, especially clothing. Even clothing in early 2000s was made significantly better than now. Story 2. My age group. I will be 51 in a few weeks. The older I get, the harder it is for me to relate to folk my age. I have a few friends my age. I love them dearly, but making new friends my age has proven quite difficult. I'm not cynical about the world around me. I still love and am fascinated by people. I do not dislike kids. I still regard hope and kindness as crucial. I am continually learning about the world around me and challenging ideas I have held on to for a long time. I am also a bit of a weirdo. I think I have an excess of whimsy. Story 3. I'm starting to dislike loud, crowded places way more than I used to. In my 20s, I loved the chaos of concerts, clubs, or packed bars. Now I'm like, why is the music so loud? And why are we all shouting over each other? Also, I've noticed I have way less patience for pointless drama. The older I get, the more I value calm, quiet, and people who don't turn everything into a big deal. It's funny, I thought getting older meant slowing down physically, but it's really more about what kind of energy you want around you. Story 4. Subscription-based everything. Never thought I'd say it, but I miss flat-rate things like cable. Sure, it was a little more upfront, but it was so much better. Answer. I detest subscriptions from. It's something that keeps creeping onto your bills and hardly have control over. Office from. That stuff better is just replaced by a free alternative. Even bicycles. But then Van Moof found out that people here don't like inshitified hype cycles. To hell with inshitification, subscriptions, and planned obsolescence. The old Oma Feets is the ultimate counterexample. It will outlast your iPhone and be there until your favorite Steam game no longer exists entirely. Story 5. People. Every single politician, every news channel, everyone associated with the healthcare system. Story 6. Keeping in contact with your family regardless how toxic they are to you and being told they're your family. Story 7. Our stupid fudge phones. I dislike my phone. I dislike everyone on their phones. Phones at concerts. F smartphones. Answer. On week 2 of budgeting money aside to buy a Wise 2 for the exclusive purpose of starting to put my iPhone in a drawer. I agree. I'm 25. I grew up with electronics and am sick of them and our universal reliance on them and electronics in general. Asked a fucking 70-year-old gardener with passion for it how to graft an apple tree 2 months ago and got told, just look it up on YouTube. You have your phone in your pocket, when I was just trying to have a human conversation with him. That, after years of brewing resentment for our common electronics addiction, I think something finally clicked in my head, or popped. IDK, but I'm now fucking determined to get away from it. Story 8. Hoping into someone's vehicle, and there is instantly loud music playing when they start it. I still love loud music, but not when it comes at me so abruptly like that. Story 9. Dedicated mobile apps for everything. It gets annoying having to download an app and create an account to do almost anything without being financially punished for it. I'm just old enough to remember when businesses didn't do this. There was a price and you paid it without any extra steps. No need to give up all of your data to pay the market price for a latte or bag of groceries. For example, I went to a Starbucks a couple of weeks ago and the cashier was genuinely surprised and a little confused by being handed a debit card. Story 10. Leaving the house is tolerable for groceries, but usually I don't like going outside. My wife bought a new central air and furnace system, so it is always more comfortable in the house. Story 11. How inconvenient a lot of shoot gets, especially if it costs you money, like a blown tire or a busted water pipe, etc., etc. Story 12. People. Straight up. The older I get, the less tolerance I have for fake smiles, fake friends, and fake morals. Everyone's out here pretending, gossiping, or taking more than they ever give. Energy vampires in human skin. If your vibe is toxic, needy, or two-faced, stay the hell out of my space. Solitude snakes every single time. Story 13. Roller coasters. You can really feel every bump and twist when you start to age. Still love the idea of them, but it's just too throwy aroundy for me now. Answer. I used to be able to handle any roller coaster as a kid and teen. However, a few years ago, I made a trip to a large amusement park in my country. It had been like 15 years since I was on a really intense roller coaster, and I thought I'd be fine. I actually dropped my blood pressure and lost my vision, on the verge of losing consciousness completely. When the ride stopped, I was drenched in sweat. I am officially old. Story 14. Both my parents being gone. We were supposed to have more time. They were my best friends, my only friends. I don't know how I'm supposed to do this without them for another 30 years. Story 15. People, but only the people who are fully grown adults, not willing to deal with issues that make them a bad person and playing the blame game. At some point, despite the bad things that might have happened in the past, you have to accept you're an adult who needs to take accountability and change for the better. I can't stand weak, mentally immature people, and I've lost many friends who I couldn't put up with because of their issues they project onto you. This isn't me shoot on those who are fudged up, but trying to make a positive change. I'd be a hypocrite then, as I'm in this boat. Story 16. Shoot parents that don't control their kids. I always used to think it was the kids out of control, but it's the parents who are lazy and don't care how their kids act out in public. This is why we have so many dumbass adults. Story 17. People, noises, loud people, noisy people. Poorly lit restaurants, noisy restaurants. Poorly lit, noisy restaurants. Story 18. Have little to no tolerance for stupid people. And when I say stupid, I mean willfully ignorant folks like racist, misogynist, and homophobes. Story 19. Me preferring to always sleep, with an average of 10-day and 15-h sleep on weekends. Feeling like I'm 20-year-old and missing out on life. But life's unbearable, and sleep is, unfortunately, my comforting escape. Story 20. Young people more and more. I strongly dislike people age 15 to 25. Maybe 1 in a 100 is redeemable, but the rest are abhorrent. Story 21. The popular music of the youth has all been the same since about 2013, right? Lethargic, auto-tuned shoot or breathy, overly emotive MOR with one of 2 chord sequences. Story 22. Marketing real estate cold calling. The devaluation of expertise, education, and critical thought. Create your account. Massive, unreasonable wealth as an end goal sign of virtue. Story 23. Funny. I keep seeing people say people, but I find myself becoming more loving and compassionate towards people. Story 24. Technological advancement in everyday life. In medicine, aviation, etc. It's very welcome. I used to love it. And slang. I have no use for it anymore. New music as well. I still recognize good artists, but it all seems so recycled now and just another mass-marketed product. Story 25. Romantic relationships. Way too overhyped. People are very strange even knowing them for years. You name it. It will not eliminate you to be alone and content with yourself. Story 26. People with certain traits of grumpiness. Before, I would kind of tolerate and stick around, but now I understand that it's unhealthy to be around it and consume their negativity and toxicity. Also, work schedule. It feels like I'm sinking into work instead of living, and that's no fun. Story 27. Dogs. Most people don't train them, and I don't want them jumping all over me when I visit my friends. Too much energy. I just want to chill and not have to defend myself. Story 28. Relationships and dating. I'm perfectly happy being single because it's peaceful, no pressure, and I can focus on the things that bring me peace and joy without having to answer to someone. Story 29. People I'm getting to dislike people. They just don't understand what I've gone through in my life. The younger generation is actually scary. They all think everything should be given to them. They don't have to work for anything anymore. It's scary that they'll be taking care of us when we get older. We screwed for sure. Story 30. I've heard this is why many younger people are having a hard time finding work and dating. Employers would rather hire someone a bit older, and they pacify their need for dating by being glued to devices. Story 31. The older I get, the more I realize that the U.S. is much more racist than I thought. There are way more uneducated people than I thought, and not enough people know or understand what is happening to our country. Story 32. Mega liberals and mega conservatives. Be whatever you want to be, left or right, but stop being an extremist. Life isn't about politics. Story 33. Small talk. Like why? If I like you, I want to get to know you. and be able to have an actual conversation with you. If I don't like you, then why do I have to pretend to like you and ask, how are you? If I could really care less that you're having a bad morning. Story 34. Corporations, commercialism, advertisements, branding can all go fudge. I want smaller business, local sources, products that last in minimal or no exploitation, and don't turn me into your billboard. Story 35. It's been around for a while now, but jobs with job experience required in the description. Like, how are you supposed to get experience if you aren't given the chance to train and learn the job itself? Find it stupid. Biggest reason why 70 are unemployed. Story 36. Staying up all night. Not that I do that anymore, but in my 20s I had no problem with it if it was at a rave or a festival. Story 37. People who can't take no for an answer. Not dating-wise, just in general. If I said no, just leave it at that. Story 38. It's getting harder and harder to tolerate noise, no matter if it's a screaming speaker from a neighbor, squeaking children in a restaurant, or just a background hum that you didn't seem to notice before. But now it's annoying, and you really start to appreciate silence as something sacred. Story 39. Crowded places, loud noises, and people who are super active in the morning. I need at least 20 minutes of myself after waking up. Story 40. 1. Noise, mostly the one emanating from the largest hole in people's faces. 2. Kids with bad manners. 3. Going outside. 4. The influencer life coach culture. Everyone always has something to say about everything. 5. The obsession with politicizing every single thing. 6. Bringing race into every discussion or argument. Story 41. Social media. I grew up when Facebook was a big deal and remember hating spring break and holidays because all the rich and popular kids would be posting their trips to Cancun and stuff, and I'd always feel like I'm missing out. Now I just don't care. I have zero interest in pretty much anyone's life outside my immediate family. Story 42. And only one human cashier while they have 10 people stocking shelves, and others fulfilling online orders with large carts also blocking aisles. Story 43. I used to be skinny until I turned 56. It happened overnight. I now have a belly. Thank God clothes hides your stomach. Story 44. Eating out at restaurants. It's not as fun as it used to be. Maybe it's the people. Maybe it's the service. Maybe it's me. Or maybe it's the fact that I have to pay for it myself now. LOL. But yeah, I would rather just eat at home and be comfortable. Story 45. I dislike to say this out loud, but music. I used to love music on full blast and burn CDs, make playlists my whole life. Now it just overstimulates me and changes my mood. In the car, I listen to news or podcasts. Story 46. Dating coaches, content about red flags. It's boring and so oversaturated with obvious reasons why people should have either left the date or respected their boundaries. Story 47. Fast food. I swear no matter how much I throw into my stomach like a black hole, I'll be hungry 30 minutes later. It has become my doomsday option. Story 48. Staying up late, subscription models, new phone models, and massive operating system refreshes every year. The government. Story 49. My family's way of treating each other, aka gossiping, gaslighting, ignoring your wants for someone else's, all the time, going behind each other's back, hidden rude messages, respecting your elders at all costs. So basically always shutting the fudge up, even if they're wrong, excluding certain family members, discussing another person's life without them being present. Story 50. The longer I go on, the less fond I am of Homo sapiens as a general concept. Don't get me wrong. I like most people I meet and believe most are well-intentioned, but Story 51. I'm tired of consuming and trying to get into more hobbies where I create. I feel shoot playing video games or watching TV. Story 52. People. I don't have time to deal with people that exhaust me anymore, whether it's at work or in my personal life. Story 53. Well, it's not starting to dislike, but the longer I know my mother, the less I like or tolerate her. Story 54. Arguing. I used to live for it. Now it feels like the rules have changed and basic facts can't be agreed upon. Story 55. Noise. People are so loud everywhere I go. Shh. At the dentist office today, a mom and daughter in the waiting room were so loud. Why? You're sitting right next to one another. So many people are unapologetically indecent. Even my friend and her daughter are loud. Last weekend, while on a play date at very quiet, artistic outing, my friend's daughter was on the phone talking to her granny on speaker. My friend didn't say a single thing. The daughter is 9. I was in shock. This is a place for quiet. I'm never inviting them again. Story 56. Help. I realized that as I got older, I now find it difficult to accept help from people. I'd rather do it all alone. Story 57. Nothing. I appreciate every day not having to go to work. I worked as a farm kid, then entered the workforce at 18 until I was 67. No matter what kind of day I have or what number of jerks, crazy, scarens, rude people I encounter, it is still better than work. I worked in the oil field and many times worked over 90 hours a week. I was taught to be macho and not complain, but now I don't miss that shoot. Life is great. I try to enjoy everything I can and avoid the buzz eliminate as much as possible. Story 58. People's behavior when they talk too much about the things they possess and money they have. People who put themselves higher than others. Narrow vision points of view. Story 59. The older I get, I dislike and resent the condescension and implication from younger people that older people are not all there, one card short of a deck, or senile. I went somewhere recently, checked in at the desk with an overly friendly receptionist who said to me, "Now you see that chair over there? Uh-huh. Well, you just go right over there and have a little seat, and someone will come get you soon. Do you understand?" And I immediately was thinking, listen, meanie, I have 2 degrees, speak a reasonable amount of 3 languages, and play 10 instruments. I think I can find a darn chair. She, as have others, assume that older people are all empty-headed and senile and must be treated like children. And I intensely dislike and resent that as I get older. Story 60. Social events. Used to be pretty cool to go out and meet people, but nowadays, nah. I'm cool kicking back and watching a horror movie at home. Story 61. 100. Lack of manners in public. People on public transit holding phone to their ear with speaker on, oblivious to others. Groups of teens with nothing better to do, not consuming, buying anything, just loitering at a McDonald's or other fast food joint, to the point where you can't enjoy a burger or a coffee in peace. What can you do? Beat them all up? Nope. Also happy I am not driving anymore. The lawbreakers, road ragers, combined with the lack of enforcement by the cops is unreal. I mean, I was raised to follow all the rules of the road. Otherwise, we get tickets, accidents, higher insurance rates. WTF happened to drivers? Story 62. Light, noise, people who can't extend courtesy to others, invasion of personal space, the expectation of smiling at all times, the amount of laundry I never thought I'd be dealing with as an adult, mouth breathers, gum chewers, and scream sneezers, tipping everything. Story 63. Going super fast and speeding through tasks so that I get a ton of stuff done in one day. I can't anymore because I'm too slow. Getting out of the car takes me forever now. Walking through the grocery store is now a stroll down each aisle. I can't go fast anymore. I can't see and it makes me hot. Story 64. Hanging out with people. I just want to be in my home with my husband and our children and our kitties. People can come to my house, that's fine, but I don't want to go anywhere, LOL. Story 65. Completely done with romantic relationships. Am straight and female, and I just can't take any more emotional babysitting of men who feel entitled to my energy. My women friends are so alive, interesting, strong, wise, and emotionally mature. Story 66. Younger people not wanting to develop any social skills, not even wanting to try and develop their social skills. They won't even order a pizza via phone. Want contactless everything. Story 67. Loud music, late nights. I have an 8-month-old and a 10-year-old, so definitely not feeling either in my mom era. Story 68. Was at the Viagra Boys concert in Montreal. The pushing, the moshing, the aggressiveness and stupidity of people. I wanted to punch so many people. Incredibly irritating. Also young people like 18 to 25, just complete unawareness. I'm 40, by the way. Story 69. Live sporting events. I would go all the time in my 20s. Now I just want to be in the house I pay for watching it on TV. No lines for food, drinks, or bathroom. Story 70. People who just want to coast by in life, never work on themselves, never want to expand their horizons or make any effort to do anything that isn't easy. I probably just wasn't able to see it as clearly when I was younger. Story 71. Like Keanu Reeves, I try my best not to argue with people. You say 225, I say great. Real relationships with respect is a bit different, but I'm not trying to change the mind of strangers. 33 of them wouldn't no matter what. 40 are just trolling, and it's too much work to figure out who the real 35 are. Story 72. Apps for everything. Two-factor authentication. Too much high-tech in my car. Things becoming too easy that it is dumbing people down in a critical way. Comfort truly is eliminate us. Being on camera every moment of our days. Story 73. Junk food. It just tastes gross and artificial and unsatisfying. Fast food has lost its appeal too. I just prefer home-cooked food. Meals, snacks, desserts. There's just very few things from restaurants that I prefer over something I could make myself. Story 74. Loud, obnoxious people who do not act their age. If I wanted to babysit at work, I would have picked up a job babysitting actual children. Story 75. News channels, social media, extremist people, any religion. Too much screen time, less real-life interaction. Orn. Story 76. I've noticed that I'm starting to dislike late nights out. A cozy evening at home with a good book sounds so much better these days. Story 77. Starting? That ship's been gone and sailing for years now. I find the list just keeps growing the longer I've been alive. Story 78. How people constantly disappear from our lives. Whether it's growing apart from friends, passing, sickness, people moving, etc. I just wish life was a little more constant and could depend on something. I can depend on God to not change, but this world not so much. Story 79. Expensive stuffs. Not worth it at all. They are gonna rot just in drawers and cupboards with other stuffs. Story 80. My own irresponsibility. I was so carefree and stupid with money in my 20s. Now in my early 30s, I've got a dope career, finally, and a way more homebody lifestyle. I'm so much happier. Should have done this ages ago. Story 81. Staying up late, almost 40, work a ton, want energy to hang out and play with my kid. However, I value playing video games with my brother, and we only have time for that a couple days a week after the kids go to bed. So often, I'm up after 11 or midnight hanging with him doing our thing. There's just not enough time for all the things I love anymore, sleep being one of them. Story 82. Drill rap. Who makes music about the crimes they commit with firearms and the Percocet they pop? The mentality of entitlement or I'm better because I have all this money and fancy designer shoot, but zero substance personality of dry jerk Melba toast. Get off my lawn. Story 83. Maybe time-draining relationship. The older I get, the more precious my time is. I don't want to waste my time for toxic people, for the one who don't understand or support my passion, my dream. So I choose carefully anyone coming to my life though. Story 84. Dogs. Friends can't come over without bringing their shoot dog. Can't go see friends without shoot dog jumping all over me. Shoot dogs in restaurants. Dogs shoot on the sidewalk. Just sick of them. Story 85. Types of dislikes levels that adds up as you grow up. School, okay. CLG, moderate. University, extreme. Graduation, ultimate. Getting underpaying jobs, extremely ultimate. Social pressure. Story 86. You can't eat as much whenever you get tipsy or stoned, and you're not in the mood to eat sweets anymore after 30. Story 87. Political people. Like anything you do will change anything. You just make yourself unbearable to be around. Story 88. Bad drivers. When I was as kid, I didn't really notice, nor did I knew the rules on the road. Now, I use my bike every day, and I feel like I'm totally invisible. And at least twice a week, somebody tries to eliminate me by opening their car door. Story 89. Sorry for the spelling clubs. Look, I love concerts, festivals, going out with friends and other stuff. But clubs are just kinda meh. Everything and everyone is the same. Music is the same, and only the most famous one is played. So even with that, it's the same. Story 90. I can't work anymore as my back has had surgery and it hasn't changed anything and is still the same as it was before. I have a new left hip, but that is just totally different and has made a big difference. So I would say age. Story 91. Seeing both sides to things. I am foolishly curious, but after 40 years, you keep seeing the same things play out again and again. Trust your gut. Story 92. I'm becoming very get off my lawn with Gen Z 20-year-olds. Like stop vaping nonstop next to me at the concert. Stop throwing beer cans into my lawn and woo-wooing all tipsy as you walk by at 2 a.m. in a quiet neighborhood. Driving on my bumper, thinking everything is fire. Story 93. In my case, the POP. I see the histrionic choreographies and the exuberant makeup and costumes as ridiculous and ordinary, aimed at immature people. At 36 years old, only techno, without human voices, or very little. Story 94. One of my brothers. I've never paid much attention to his know-it-all attitude. His becoming difficult to communicate with because he knows everything and never stops talking. Story 95. Have little to no tolerance for stupid people. And when I say stupid, I mean willfully ignorant folks like racist, misogynist, and homophobes. Story 96. People complaining about politics, about laws, about other people, about everything except what they completely control over, which is their own attitude and effort. Story 97. Those darn kids on my lawn in suspicious-looking clouds. And yeah, I'm shaking my fist towards the cloud while I'm cursing. Story 98. People expecting tip for everything. I get Reddit leans heavily anti-tipping. I'm not criticizing this necessarily, but darn, not only are we seeing 20 now, tipping has been added to things where we never expected to tip before. Story 99. Smart tech that's not really that smart. My MIL got a faucet for their kitchen that has tap technology she thought would be useful when she cooks, but we all just hit it accidentally trying to get paper towel, and it still has the manual lever to turn it on and off, and it's always off when I go to use it. It's the dumbest fudge thing because it takes batteries that die fast. Story 100. How shoot life is becoming an adult. I have to tolerate people. Otherwise, I'm looked at as difficult, which gives people leverage to fire me when they see fit, as opposed to someone they enjoy. Story 101. People who talk whilst rubbing their hands together near their face. You look like a rapist, bro, stop. Story 102. My body aching at weird times for no reason. Crowds, hard pants, anything that's not made of soft, stretchy fabric. Story 103. Everything apart from the missus, dog, and being at home. I'm only in my 40s. And I don't like how much society has changed since I grew up. Maybe it's me changing, but that's not how it feels. Story 104. Most movies and shows. I'd rather read a good book. I've read about 40 or so books so far this year, and don't miss the list screen time at all. Story 105. How many people there are now. Restaurants. People who hold a phone up to my face and tell me to look at something. Anyone older than 21 using new slang. Grown men that wear cargo pants. People that go to Starbucks. People that say, could care less when they actually mean couldn't care less. The entire tipping system. People that still leave voicemails. Football teams using an alternative uniform more than once a season. Cold weather. Story 106. Technology. Not tech in and of itself, but the reliance on it. People using ChatGPT to do schoolwork and write emails. Young musicians using AI apps to enhance music. Just the utter lack of effort people are putting in to using their brains for things. Story 107. People without common sense. I work security. I guess I would be out of a job if everyone was nice and had common sense. Story 108. Social gatherings. I used to be more extroverted and did a flip-flop over the last few years. I need much more recharge time these days. Much prefer to go home and relax after work anymore instead of some sort of activity. Story 109. Getting stuff TBH. Not only is shoot more expensive, but it's also harder to justify as I near 26. Do I really want to buy this new sick-looking game if there's a good chance I don't even find the time to finish the main story, which is what draws me to games more than anything else, except fighting games, LOL. Do I really need to shell out $5 whole on this bag of chips, regardless of how much it might make me happy in the short term? Don't get me wrong. I'm super happy when someone gives me socks or a good book or whatever else. I guess my interests are just shifting. I mean, the only games I can see myself buying in the next 5 or 10 years are FF7R Part 3 and whatever the next Zelda is. Both games that don't even exist to the public yet, LMAO. Guess I want that Marvel fighting game too, but that's it. Story 110. Siempre he querido decirlo. Odio los globos. Los encuentros tan innecesarios. Es un odio que empecé después de los 25. Mientras más años más los odio. Story 111. Sounds, crowds, people. Older than me people. Younger than me people. Cost of living. Everything is too sweet or too salty. Story 112. Large crowds in small spaces. Everything I hear on the news. All the new slang. People dancing in my lawn. Story 113. I woke up yesterday morning and my left wrist was so painful I was unable to grab anything or make a fist. No idea. Just woke up to pain. Day 3 and it's gone. What is this? Story 114. Tying shoelaces. Most of my shoes nowadays are slip-ons, zipper closure, or I convert the ones needing laces to elastic laces. Not just the tying either. The feeling of the lace ends flapping around when I'm walking or running is so annoying. Story 115. Small talk. It's insufferable, especially when you know it's coming from glazed-over individuals biding time. Story 116. My daily commute 110 miles round trip, daily for the last 12 years, and everyone else is in a bigger hurry than me apparently. Story 117. The collective growing inability of anyone anywhere on the political spectrum to actually listen to what someone believes from their own mouth and argue that instead of assuming they know what they believe because they told you who they voted for in the last election. Story 118. Interesting question. What I start disliking with age is the dual personality of people. Flattering oneself is another basic pet peeve for me. Also, the lure of getting all materialistic things is not my criteria anymore. Now, all we need is peace of mind and heart. Embrace gratitude and work on things that make you passionate. Simple. Story 119. Spending time doing things I don't want to do. Nothing feels like an obligation anymore. If I don't want to go to your wedding, I'm not going. Story 120. In-person movies, I swear I pay my discount price, 90, and then put up with a woman who acts like she never left her living room. Loud, spilling popcorn everywhere, and just a general disrespect for the rest of the movie theater. Story 121. I've started to dislike sweets more and more. It's crazy. I used to eat so much candy and drink so much soda, and now I can barely get through a slice of cake. Story 122. People's ill-founded, stupid beliefs, honestly. I am not so slowly becoming increasingly contemptful of the things idiots do because of their stupid thoughts, feelings, and perspectives. Story 123. Social media and phones. I'm actively trying to step away from both because it's all distractions and basically dislike mongering now. And everyone has their faces in their phones the whole time. If I go out to eat with someone, mine is basically turned off so I can have a conversation with them. Story 124. Getting blacked out tipsy, you don't remember anything, and the next 2 days are hell. Used to just be one, LOL. Story 125. I don't like it when there are too many people. I find it oppressive and it makes me uncomfortable. Story 126. Drama. Every single drama is just draining and boring, and I have no energy for it anymore. I find it pretty juvenile. If you have beef with someone, just air it out and move on. It's really not that hard. Story 127. Noise. I used to love loud music at bars and concerts. I can't handle it now. Quiet and peaceful makes me happy now. Story 128. Live music at restaurants. I understand it's a draw for a lot of people, but it's obnoxious in most cases. I don't need Margaritaville or Sweet Caroline at 100 dB while I'm trying to enjoy my meal. Story 129. Nice on the face, but shoot on the inside. Relatives or just people in general. But my relatives have been eating me alive lately. Story 130. Swings. I loved swinging when I was growing up, but today I just get nauseous and want to puke. AI sucks too, and most people in general. Story 131. My family's habits for certain things. Never really noticed or paid as much attention until I started getting older. Story 132. Clubs. In college, I used to like the atmosphere, music, and people, but now all it is avoiding eye contact with men, while other men non-consensually touch you. The music is shoot undanceable house music. You need 3 drinks to get tipsy, and each one is 13. And while I'm trying to have a good night, I gotta simultaneously pay attention to that weird dude who's been trying to secretly follow me around the club for 2 whole hours. I wish I was exaggerating. I go to concerts and bars now with friends. Raves can be fun too if it has good music and I bring the right people. But I will never again go clubbing, LOL. Story 133. The assumption that everyone likes the daytime. Older I get, the more I dislike the heat, the light, the noise, the constant pressure that being around all this turmoil and useless, loud bullshit brings. Story 134. Getting older, my eyes not being as good as they used to be, my back hurting every day, my skin sagging and my beard getting gray hairs in it. I'm only 46. Story 135. The pit at concerts. Why pay more money to stand for hours when you could pay less money for a chair? Story 136. Most people, when it comes to dating, As I age, the number of people I find unfit for it is getting closer to 90. I was way more trusting 10, 15 years ago. Story 137. Back in high school, my friends and I were always loud in public, especially around restaurants or crowded places. Now that I'm older, I find myself getting annoyed at loud students in the same settings. I can only imagine how irritating we must have been back then. To anyone we disturbed, I'm sorry. Story 138. So-called love scenes in movie shows. They rarely, if ever, advance the plot in any way, shape, or form. Story 139. Live music in restaurants and closed spaces. It is too loud. I want to talk to the people I'm out with, not yell or eat staring at each other in silence. Story 140. Social events media. As much as I used it growing up. Looking at life now, it's not something I used much, but can be super useful since I am planning to launch my own brand. Story 141. A bit over a year ago when I turned 18, I gradually became more averse to adult content. It's been a bit over 200 days without any adult content. It's just a turnoff at this point. Story 142. How fudge tired you get after spending 8 hours at work with a round trip time of 2 hours to go from home to work and back home again. Story 143. Social media. I feel like it's full-on made people dumb as hell and angry. Everyone seems angry. But do I still use it? Unfortunately, yes. Story 144. Coworkers, certain friends and family, kids and their bad parents, any temp above 80, shoot furniture, cheap motels, adult beverage, lazy people that don't try, social media, music festivals, movie theaters, big banks, all politicians. Story 145. Arguing or competing. I can see it in young people all around me that they enjoy arguing or competing. There's a point where you just stop being energized by those things and want desperately to get along and accomplish things. Story 146. Working. I have a decent amount saved and I don't want to wait until I'm 59, 12 years old to start tugging on my retirement penalty-free. Story 147. Gotcha games. I don't care how good they're getting. Their price and time commitment is too high for their return with gameplay. Don't argue with me. I know there are decent arguments to why it's not so bad. This is my I'm old thing. I don't like it. Story 148. The runaround. We recently bought a Samsung TV. Looks fine but doesn't work. Looks like we punched it but we didn't. Store won't take it back. Samsung gave us a discount code to purchase the exact same TV. Code doesn't work. Back to the store. Sigh. Story 149. Super loud music at a restaurant. I get it at a bar. Just trying to grab a bite to eat with the wife though? Hell no. We went out over the weekend and we're having to yell at each other. Crazy. Story 150. Companies asking for my email to download their specific app or use a QR code for something basic. Story 151. The cold weather. It's turning chilly in the evenings here in rural Essex. Damp air from fields and coast. Story 152. Also, every computer app being on a subscription basis now, and companies charging obscene prices for them while their products get shittier. Story 153. Weddings. A 5-hour sit-around fest with cold food. So darn many videographers and photographers forcing the new couple to spend an hour and a half to 2 hours post-ceremony just getting every possible permutation of family and friends into a million photos. Meanwhile, I'm running to my truck to grab a candy bar out of the glove box because I'm starving. Not to mention the one-upmanship of each wedding, whether it's flowers, venue, or honeymoon plans. Dear friends of mine spent $250K on fudge flowers. Just a cosmic waste. Buy them a down payment on a house instead. Story 154. The older I get, the more I realize how many stupid people there are and how much am affected by their decisions. Story 155. Small talk. I used to be fine with it, but now it just feels exhausting. I'd rather have one deep conversation than 10 surface-level ones. Story 156. Intolerance for adult beverage. Enlarging the font in anything I'm reading. Crowds of people. Noisy, ill-mannered kids. Watching my diet now because my health is declining. My inability to stand up without my knees cracking. Story 157. Working. I used to find enjoyment in what I do. Didn't mind the stress and like the challenges. Now I don't know what the finging point is other than a means to an end. There is life outside that I'm missing and have missed. This machine is bullshit and I dislike it. Story 158. The Republican side has also been weird and gross, but the Democrat side has now started acting so weird too. Story 159. Chicken wings and ribs. I don't want all this fudge shoot all over my hands and face when I'm trying to relax and enjoy a meal. Going through 17 paper towels to just fill my stomach, and it's always way less food than you think it is. Not to mention the bones being both annoying and gross. Get me a burger or something with a fork knife. Story 160. Things that are too loud. I went to the cinema the other day and had to put earplugs in for the adverts. Story 161. Having to run out to the store for things you forgot. At this point, I'd rather go without whatever I forgot until the next day. Story 162. It's the one thing sober me can't enjoy that tipsy me found very satisfying. Part of it's age, part of it is just changed temperament, but I have to be tipsy to enjoy a crowd at this point. That said, I did love being in crowds when I was drinking myself stupid. I wouldn't say I miss it, but I have some nostalgia. Story 163. Concerts. I want to sit and listen, and the youngsters in front don't. Totally fine. I just don't go anymore. Story 164. How much it sucks when your friends go. Even if you're the one who says, I don't want to be friends, and have plenty of great reasons. Story 165. People, when I am off work, I just want to go home and bullshit with the family and work on the farm. Story 166. Online entertainment. It's getting so unhinged, and it's just like what it was going to be from the start. Street performers turned to behind a screen, which is fine, but it's to keep us from actually critically thinking. And I realize the more time away from online media, all forms, makes life a little more soluble. Story 167. Life, and I really don't want to live it anymore. I'm not tragic end. I have family and animals that never leave. I just mean that life is arduous and difficult, and I don't want to be around another 40 years. Story 168. Sugary snacks like cookies, funnel cake, candy, gushers, etc. I love it initially, but after only a few bites, my teeth start hurting. If I keep going, I get a stomach ache for the rest of the day. It sucks because I remember a time when I could down a whole bag or plate of these snacks with no issue whatsoever. Story 169. Having to be someplace at a given time. Even fun things, but the older you get, the more likely it's something unpleasant. Story 170. Politics. I was fascinated with it as a kid. And the news. Now I guess I realize how these things directly affect me, and I resent both. Story 171. Going to the movies, people are rude, between them yammering during the film and phones. It's just not fun anymore. Story 172. Any changes in my schedule, other people, loud places, sleeping in, since it eliminate my back, drinking more than 2 drinks, cause the hangover just last days now, sudden movements, cause it may lead to an injury, not being able to lose the extra weight, and the list goes on. Story 173. Paying for monthly subscriptions for everything. Is there even an app that you can just buy now? Seems like most they want you to just pay forever.